You've been subjected to abuse from anti-immigration protesters. They've called you a traitor. Is your party's stance on immigration a problem for your voters, do you think?
I think the failure of government to manage the entirety of the migration situation correctly and efficiently. I think their failure to explain, their failure to listen has caused this to be an issue that is more divisive than it should be in Irish society, because this is a great place to live and Irish people are decent and respectful. And I think everybody knows that those who are fleeing persecution and war need to be treated with dignity and decency. People who come here on work permits and who work in critical sectors of our society, likewise. And I think any right-minded person deplores any form of racism, any form of abuse. So for us, we have a policy that strikes, in my mind, the absolutely correct balance that says clearly we need a system that is rules-based, that those rules have to be applied. You need a system that's properly resourced, a system that's human rights compliant and that's based on dignity. And you also have to have a political atmosphere in which these matters can be discussed as matters of public policy.
How do you feel about anti-immigration protesters using the Irish flag to support their Ireland for the Irish mantra?
The tricolour is a flag of entente, of peace between our two great traditions of the Gael and the planter, the orange and the green. It's a symbol of inclusion, it's a symbol of peace, and it's a symbol of unity, and it should be hung with pride at every opportunity. It should never, ever, ever be misrepresented or misused as or misunderstood to represent any form of exclusion or hatred.
It is
or
used
bitterness.
for that now, though, isn't
Well,
it?
shame on those who use it for that purpose. That's for them to fundamentally misunderstand the meaning of the Irish tricolour, the history of its origins, and the meaning and the experience of what it is to be Irish. To be really Irish and patriotic is to understand the history of your own country, and to understand, maybe above all else, that we haven't finished our own journey to full unity and to full freedom, and to understand that divisive, toxic politics and toxic ideas that helps no Irish person, man, woman or child.
You mentioned unity there, and your private members bill on Irish unity is coming. The Taoiseach Simon Harris has said Irish unity is not owned by Sinn Féin.
He's right in that, absolutely. I would not wish it to be owned by Sinn Féin or anybody else.
So do you welcome Fine Gael's move then to put this blueprint together?
It's long overdue, but Bula Bus, that's Iontuch Mai. I'm very, very happy with that. I think it was important, by the way, for the leader of Fine Gael to actually make that move. And I think it's now absolutely imperative that Fianna Fáil and its leader follow suit. But more to the point, it is essential now that the Irish government accept and begin the planning that is necessary for these referendums. They are going to happen, Claire.
We're
almost 30 years
though,
on.
about Sinn Féin. You always say, and in this private members bill, you put the pressure on the Taoiseach and on the government to come up with the blueprint. Why don't you do that?
We have done a huge amount of work. We've run symposiums and consultations and all across the country. We've done it in the United States of America, in Australia and in Britain. And of course, as a political party, we have to be generating that conversation, generating those ideas. But just remember, it is the Irish state, through the Irish government, that is a party to the Good Friday Agreement. And only the government in Dublin can actually produce a green paper, the paper that we are seeking, that sets out all of the opportunities, all of the different areas of work that need to happen by way of preparation for the referendum.
So when it comes to the sticky questions, the ones people are really worried about, like the cost, and I saw 54% of people who are opposed to United Ireland are worried about the cost in the Sunday Independent yesterday. It's up to the government to answer those questions, not Sinn Féin.
Well, it's up to the government to produce the green paper, to host the Citizens' Assembly. But then, of course, it's up to all of us to have the honest conversation with people, to explain to people how it is, in fact, affordable, to explain to people that this subvention from Britain, the cost of running the North, that number is often very, very overstated. It's overstated to include things like pensions, defence spending, and so on and so forth. It's up to us to explain and set out the numbers of it, that actually this is affordable. And not alone that, Irish Unity offers a massive economic and investment opportunity.
So you think the British
for the
government
entire island
would continue to pay the pensions of the retired workers, even if it was United Ireland?
Well, I think you have plenty of people who live in this jurisdiction on this island who draw their pension from Britain. I think the British government would have to honour their obligations in respect of payments that have been made and contributions made to pension funds.
People want
and
to
by
know
the way,
things like, will we have the HSE in Northern Ireland?
But by the way,
will we have the Gardaí
just to finish out the point on pensions, post-Brexit, I think the evidence was that in fact the British state did honour its obligations in that regard. On the NHS, you're quite correct. We need to talk about what does the health system look like nationally. It's my personal belief that we will only, in fact, get healthcare right, healthcare provision right, on an all-island basis. We have two systems, the NHS underfunded and struggling north of the border, and south of the border you kind of have a confused public-private mix that in some parts is excellent, but access to it is incredibly difficult. The waiting lists are
currently it's up to Micheál Martin to answer those questions.
No, it's up to the government to provide the forums, officially the democratic forums and processes, using all of the agencies of the state to set out all of the salient facts, to set out all of the challenges, but the opportunities as well.
They're not doing that, though, with the Shared Island project.
No, they're not. They absolutely are not. And as a matter of fact, we actually launched a very detailed paper on all-island healthcare some months back. But no, the government aren't doing that. They're doing some good work through the Shared Island unit, and that is good. All work that aims to build relationships and networks and investment is good work, Claire, don't get me wrong. But it's not enough. And here's the issue. Good government has to be prepared for either jeopardies, challenges and opportunities. And the Irish government and the Irish state has to be prepared for all of the above. This referendum could get called much earlier than the Dublin government might anticipate. And the only question that will be is whether or not we are prepared. The referendums will happen at some point. So the extant question is, will we have good order? Will we have made our preparations or not? And I am for having a prepared, informed, democratic debate at that point.